That's the opening.
That's the intro. Hi.
Hi, guys. Welcome back to the We're Trying podcast.
Hi. I'm Aurora.
I'm Bea.
We're both dying a little bit.
So here's the thing. I don't even know what we had planned for this week.
Mad Men.
Okay.
Next week we'll do a Mad Men.
Next week will be Mad Men. But Aurora and I this week, we've just been like
dying.
I can't do it today, my dude.
The amount of times that we Snapchatted each other, just both like laying in bed going, I'm not getting up today, or I just would like to not exist today. Hilarious.
Yeah, the day we're recording this is Thursday. We normally record on Mondays.
And the only reason we decided to record today is because we have another meeting right after this, and we were like, this is a good opportunity to do something.
And while we could talk about Mad Men, we're not.
No, we're not going to do that.
We are going to kind of do like a catch up.
Yeah.
Also, I'm sorry if you can hear cars going by. I don't have headphones, and you will know why in a second. We are just going to catch up on old episodes.
Yeah.
While we do our makeup to get ready for this meeting.
Wow.
And then we're going to talk a little bit about self-care and the importance of self-care.
Yeah. So it's basically
like what we're doing right now.
Yeah. It's going to be like, hey friends, let's hang out for an hour.
Yeah.
Which is kind of what the podcast is to begin with anyway. So you will notice if you are watching, and if you're listening, you obviously won't notice, but I'm going to tell you anyway. I'm out of foundation, so I've been using a brush and scraping the sides because I am not going out to get more foundation. So that's how this podcast is starting, with Aurora awkwardly scraping the inside of her MAC foundation because she is currently unemployed.
I've not even done my skincare yet today. It's 10:30 in the morning. I'm not with Aurora because we're still in a panorama.
Are we? I had no idea. So where should we begin today?
Good question. I haven't even finished my one coffee, so.
Neither have I. Mine is still sitting on the table over there.
I started using coconut cream to make cold foam for the top of my drinks.
Ooh. Okay, here's where I'm going to start.
Can we talk about what products we're using?
Oh, sure. I'm using remnants of MAC Studio Fix Fluid SPF 15 in shade N4.5.
I am starting with skincare. I washed my face with the Nobia Skincare Foaming Cleanser. I'm using the Nobia Skincare Vitamin C and E Serum. Then I'm going to use CeraVe Lotion to moisturize, and then Neutrogena Sunscreen SPF 50. SPF
is so important. If you're not using SPF as part of your daily skincare, this goes for guys, gals, and non-binary pals. If you are not using SPF as part of your daily routine, what you doing with your life, my dudes? It's so beneficial to your skin. Your skin will thank you.
Oh, yeah. This is bad, but when I work at like 5:30 in the morning, the last thing I want to do in the morning is do my skincare.
Oh, absolutely.
So I will basically wake up, and as I'm like putting on clothes, which I pick out the night before so I can wake up as late as possible, I will just kind of use like a micellar water to get all of last night's skincare off. And then while I like drive to work, and then before I go into work, I have a little tube of this really like crappy sunscreen that I probably shouldn't be putting on my face, but I do anyways. And I just put that on as I'm literally walking up to the door, and then I pull my mask up over my face.
That's funny. That's good though. Okay. So because I'm out of foundation, I have been finishing with this. My grandmother got this when she was in the hospital and never used it, but it is like a powder foundation, like CoverGirl. I don't know if it actually works, like I can never tell, but I just kind of like put it on top to sort of like make it look like I've done a full face of proper foundation. So this is what the past week has looked like for me. I'll go first. Why not? So I have spent the majority of the week trying to be a problem solver and trying to you know, pick up the pieces of things as they fall apart, which has not been very successful and has honestly been exhausting. So I've spent the majority of my week sitting on my couch on my phone trying to fix things that people don't want fixed. So, whatever, I'm tired. And I've been binging Mad Men. Shocker there. And that's been my week. Yesterday, though, I spent the whole day editing season 2 of The Love You Make, which was fun because 4 hours passed and I didn't realize. And suddenly I looked up and it was noon and I had freaked out.
Yeah, Aurora and I got strangely manic at the same time.
Yeah, it was funny.
I think something important to say, though, that you've been doing this week is setting boundaries.
Yes.
You have, true. It's a difficult thing to do, but you've kind of set boundaries with people being like, hey, I love you, but I do need to prioritize myself. Oh, I'm going to use the NYX Born to Glow foundation and then the e.l.f. creamy concealer and then probably the Rimmel powder. Maybe saying all the names of products was a bad idea, but I'm going to keep doing it. Good. For those who are watching.
But yes, I had a really wonderful long talk with a friend of ours. Hi, Sammy. When was
Sammy,
that talk?
We love you.
Sammy, we love you. But I don't remember when I had that talk. It was the same day. I had 2 talks with Sammy that day. The first one was a production talk. She just called me out of the blue to talk. And the second one was I sent her a Snapchat of me about to lose it. And she just called me out of the blue. That's the same day that you called me randomly midday. I don't know. Is that... What day is it? It's Thursday. Was that Monday?
I think it was Monday.
I think it was Monday. I had a really nice long talk with Sammy, and Sammy had this wonderful analogy that I have not stopped thinking about since. And the analogy is that, we all have buckets of water. And we go to, when we start running on empty, when we use up our water, we need to replenish it. So oftentimes we will go to friends to help replenish the water in our bucket. And that is normal and fine and everything. But sometimes people will come to us to replenish their water because we constantly put on this facade that our water bucket is full. So they take water and then they leave, leaving you emptier and never coming back to refill it. So basically taking your energy. And that is an unhealthy relationship because relationships have to be full of give and take and compromise. And basically, you fill my bucket, I fill yours, etc. And I think that's a really, really wonderful analogy because I'm the kind of person who gives a lot to people. I do. I give a lot of my energy to people and not a whole lot to myself sometimes. So it's this analogy of, give to the people who are going to give back. Rather than, giving your energy to somebody who's just going to run away with it, I think is a really, really healthy place to start in setting these boundaries,
That is a very good place. It reminds me a lot of the spoon theory.
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of that too.
But I find spoon theory works more when you're just talking about yourself.
Mm-hmm.
But the water bucket theory works when you're talking about other people. And I think it's something that is important for people to recognize, that it's difficult, but you need to set boundaries even with the people you love.
Oh, absolutely. And I think another really, really important thing to think and to sort of take away from these sorts of situations is that all of our friends serve different purposes in our lives, which is not me saying use your friends, but all of our friends sort of end up serving different purposes in our lives. So you will have some friends that are the kind of person that you can go to when you've got problems, and they become that support system. And you have other friends who are really good to party with, and other friends who are really good to joke around with. And those don't always cross, There isn't always that crossing or meeting of the roads or whatever. Some people are just going to be your party friends, and some people are just going to be your support system friends. And you need both, But
it's like a Venn diagram. Like,
Yeah.
sometimes they cross, sometimes they don't.
Yeah, and sometimes we expect all of our friends to fill every single part of the Venn diagram, but they can't and they won't, you know? And to some people, your friend might be the supportive friend, but to you, they're not. And that is okay as well. It just like relationships are so fascinating to me because, like, what the heck, you know? Now I have dimension on my face.
I look like a flat piece of paper. I'm not even done my base.
I have 2 blushes that I'm going to combine now.
Ooh, what blushes?
I have Bare Minerals. It just says Rouge. And then I have this Annabelle that's much lighter. So I usually will put the Bare Minerals powder, like loose powder on, and then I'll go over it with like setting translucent powder. And then I'll put just like a little layer of the lighter stuff on top. Why? Because I don't know how to do makeup.
I guess I could talk about where I've been for the past week.
Yeah, do that.
So, if y'all remember, it was my birthday. And every year after my birthday, I fall into a not super great headspace. And I never really, there's no reason behind it. There's like no reason. But honestly, recently there's been a lot of things in my personal life that have just kind of been building up and building up and building up and building up, and they finally toppled over. And I'm still working on, setting the Jenga blocks back up and hoping for the best. It felt like for the longest time I was doing mental cartwheels.
Mm-hmm.
And might I add, I'm not very good at cartwheels. So I just I thought I was spreading myself really thin. I wasn't really giving myself a break from working.
Mm-hmm.
And even on the days where I would be like, hey, Flare team, this is my day off, I was still working.
Yep, me too.
Which I shouldn't have been doing. I know.
Same though.
Or like, I usually say, for those on the Flare team will know this, but I say I'm not checking my emails after 5 p.m.
Mm-hmm.
I check my emails after 5 p.m.
Oh yeah, me too.
Because life. I am always working. I'm back at Starbucks. So basically, if you look I started keeping track of my bullet journal of days that I work. And that includes working like Starbucks and Flare stuff. Mm-hmm. And I would just keep track of the days that I worked. I said I was taking Sundays off. I took 1 day off last month.
Yep.
And I think that contributed to it. So I've been really trying for the past week. I had to basically take 2 days off of everything. Monday and Tuesday, I don't think I did literally anything because my body was like, if you don't take a break, you're gonna run yourself dry.
Mm-hmm.
So I was kind of forced to take a break. And I talked to Aurora a lot about just a bunch of things, personal things, which we're not going to get to on here.
No.
Because this is not the time nor place. But Aurora thankfully talked to me about that. I've been talking with, again, Sammy a lot. Sammy is an absolute angel. I was sad, and Sammy immediately was like, do you just want to like play Minecraft tonight and just like not think about things and build things on Minecraft? We didn't end up playing Minecraft because I fell asleep early. But the fact that, Sammy was just like, let's just do something and get your mind up things. But basically things that I've learned, one big thing that I've learned in my 21st to my 22nd year of life is that it's okay to take a break. Because basically, because I now Flare, Starbucks, and then I also run a small business as well as like doing influencer and content creating things, while people are like, that's so easy, all you have to do is make videos and post them. It's a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't want to sound ungrateful, because I'm so grateful of the people who support me and what I've been capable of doing with my platform. But you don't get a day off when you're content creating.
Nope.
Like, there's no days off. So I just stopped creating content for a couple days. And like now I kind of have to hop back on the horse. So I've had basically a roundabout way of saying I've had to learn to set boundaries with myself.
Mm-hmm.
And just be like, you can't do everything all at once.
Absolutely.
Which is like important, and making sure that you take breaks and you are aware that you are worthy of taking a rest day. It's like working out. You got to have your rest days.
You do. You really, really do.
It's like if you work out every day, your body's never going to have a chance to recover.
Exactly.
And it's the same thing with your mind. If you're working your mind every single day and you don't take a break to just like shut off your brain and just be in the earth, just kind of a vibe, then, you know, you're just going to wear yourself out, and then it's going to end up bad.
Yeah. 100%, my dude. I am also, and you know this, I've also always been that person who just like is not good at shutting off and taking days off and accepting that I need to take days off. Like the amount of times you've pulled tarot cards for me and it's like, please sleep, please rest, is comical.
Oh, yeah.
So I think it's something that we definitely have in common. It's funny though, because like we live, here I am getting philosophical. We live in a society that is so like, you have to constantly be working. If you're not working, you're behind. If you're not doing this and that and this and that, you're not worth much. And that is so harmful.
Yeah.
Like even at theater school, it was always just like, well, if you're not, rehearsing all the time, if you're not practicing all the time, if you're not like, okay, the content, like creating your own theater company, everything worked for me, but it doesn't work for everybody. And like, when we start telling people, well, the only way you're going to succeed in this industry is if you create your own work. Okay, fine. Yes, it does make it a little bit easier to get in, but that just doesn't work for everybody,
Yeah.
And yet we're always like, you have to work, you have to work, you have to work. Do you have to work or do you have to live,
I think that's also something in theater school that I found was really toxic.
Absolutely.
Of teachers saying, oh, you need to make sure that you're taking time, do your schoolwork, go to rehearsals, but make sure there's time for you. But every teacher says that.
And doesn't give it to you.
And then doesn't give it to you. So you're just like suffering.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Oh my God. I think I only, in general, missed like one day a year for different reasons. In my first year, I had to miss a day because I got an ear infection. And I was lucky to have like some of our chiller teachers that day, so I didn't feel super bad. But in third year, I had to miss a day because I had an allergic reaction to gluten. So I couldn't move. And one of our teachers spent most of the class, not most of the class, but a chunk of class telling my classmates that I was going to be out for the foreseeable future because there was no way I was going to be able to recover from that. And she didn't know how I was going to keep up with school. And I was like, okay. So I went to school the next day to do ballet, and I went up to the ballet teacher and I was like, hi, I physically can't move, but I actually just have to be here because apparently I can't keep up with class if I'm not. Do you mind if I sit out? And she was like, no, I prefer it if you dance. And I was like, oh, okay. I have no mobility in my joints though. I'm just giving you the heads up. Like I cannot point my toe. And she was like, that's fine. And then spent the whole class yelling at me. And I was like, so when am I supposed to recover?
Yeah.
Like, this is actually a medical problem because I'm sensitive to gluten and I couldn't move. But I was shamed for it and then not given time to recover. And I just don't understand, you know?
Yeah, something I've said, and I think I've said it on the podcast, is we're in school. Okay, you can't give us, like, you either need to pull back on the schoolwork or pull back on rehearsals, because we can't have a professional work schedule, like a rehearsal schedule, as well as the amount of schoolwork you're giving us, and then expect us to still have time to sleep.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And I've said it, I believe, on the podcast, I've said it multiple times, but you can't expect us to be able to keep up with it. And then you wonder why so many of your students deal with mental health issues.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're like, I deal with mental health issues. And they're like, go pet a dog in the student lounge.
Yeah, because
you'll be fine. And it's like, no, it's a chemical imbalance, but thank you.
Yeah, it's a chemical imbalance caused by, in most cases, well, not in most cases, I can't speak for everybody, but in some cases caused by trauma, caused by chemical imbalance from family, like genes, genetics, that's the word, things like that. So, like, I find that this industry in general is not very forgiving of that sort of thing, you know?
Not at all.
No. Really shitty. Because, like, the entire industry is about, like, the entire, like, art form is about emotions and energy. And if we can't address our own emotions and energy without either doing it in a toxic way or being told to, like, forget it, that's even more harmful and it's going to mess with us even more, you know?
Basically, I think what both of us have learned in the past little while, to kind of wrap this, I guess, segment up in a bow, is you need to listen to yourself.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you just have to work on becoming more self-aware. And that's always something that whenever I've gone to therapy, a therapist has always been like, you're very self-aware. And I'm like, thanks, it's because of trauma.
Yeah.
But you, like, I can tell when things are getting bad again.
Yeah, me too.
And usually when things are getting bad again, I ignore it. But this week, I decided to listen to myself. And I, instead of, just being like, I'll just go to work and forget about it. No, I took some days off and, shut down my brain and just vibed. I simply vibed for 2 days. And then, like, half of yesterday, too. And I think just the overarching theme here is it's okay to vibe.
It's okay to vibe.
It's okay to vibe.
It's okay to just live for a day. You know, you don't need to be living for someone else. You don't need to be living for something. It is okay to just live, you know?
Yeah. What do you do with your spare time? I live.
What do you do? I live.
Shout out to that one hippie.
Shout out to that one hippie in like 69.
Aurora brought that up to me once. And now it's just something that we say.
Yeah, all the time.
Honestly, I want to get I live as a tattoo.
Okay, for your birthday, before I lost my job, I was going to get you a necklace and it was going to say I live on it. Yeah. Let's get matching I live tattoos.
Do you want to?
I will, absolutely.
When I move to Toronto.
We could get it in like script font because we actually are putting it into the Love You Make because it's our favorite thing in the world. We could get it in like the font that Courier knew. Like, oh, now I'm excited. Oh.
We're gonna get it. So an update on my life this week. I've discovered I don't want to live in Windsor anymore. And I don't think I'm gonna be returning to college because after doing a lot of soul searching, I've discovered that the program I was in, kind of a bit of the discussion we just had, was very toxic. And I've discovered that I don't need an education in theater to be successful in theater.
Absolutely, my dude.
I can take dance classes anywhere. I can take acting lessons anywhere. I can take singing lessons anywhere. I'm the associate artistic director for a theater company. I'm into writing. You know.
You are doing fine.
I'm doing just fine without theater, and it's a lot better for me mentally. So what I've decided, I haven't even told my parents this yet. So, Mom, when you listen to this, or family, when you listen to this, this is my plan.
Oh, I'm dropping things. I'm so sorry.
No, you're fine. The lease that I have here is up the beginning of May next year. My plan over the next year is to save about 3 months of average rent in Toronto, and then I'm going to move to Toronto.
Yay!
And I'm going to simply live.
I live. There is so much beauty in just living.
It really is.
In just existing.
Oh, the eyeliner I'm using is the e.l.f. Intense Ink Eyeliner. I love it. It's a little big.
Yeah, that is very big.
It's a thick boy. But
thick.
It's really black and it stays off well if I don't accidentally rub my eye.
Haha. I'm now using the camera as a mirror because I've given up on everything.
I have a ring light mirror that my ex bought it for me for Christmas like 2 years ago. And I tried to give it back to her. And she was like, no, keep it. And I was like, okay. So now I basically have a ring light.
I had one and it broke.
So do you want to go through some of the old topics that we've had on the podcast and just kind of do like updates on them?
Sure. What was the first topic we did?
It was just to get to know us.
No, I know. What was the one after that?
True crime.
Oh, yeah, true crime.
So I continue loving true crime.
I have come to love true crime now.
A case that I've recently become infatuated with is the Vallow-Daybell case.
What's that one?
So, in a nutshell, these two people think that there's dark and light spirits, and they thought that the wife's kids were dark spirits, and the way to save them is by killing them. And the remains of the kids were found, and basically they're like both absolutely fucked. It's a really interesting case, and we'd have to do a whole other separate episode for me to talk about it and actually do it justice. So if that's something y'all would want, let us know, because I'm down to do that. I will start getting research together.
I mean, we could just do it. What's stopping us?
Yeah, literally. Next week, just kidding. The week after Mad Men. We've already said next week we're doing Mad Men.
Yeah.
There's been a lot of recent updates in the case, and it's still ongoing because, again, it's an ongoing case. But I've been keeping up with it a lot. And it gets so crazy. It gets crazier and crazier every single day. And I just, wow.
Okay, I need to look that one up. You'll have to text me later and remind me, but I will look that one up. I got kind of, not obviously as into true crime, but I started watching a lot of Bailey Sarian's videos, and she is a great storyteller, first and foremost. But just like, I think her videos are a really nice way into true crime, because I've never been like an avid lover of true crime, but she tells the stories in a really, really great way. And because, she's doing her makeup while she tells them, it doesn't feel like as harsh of a topic,
So what are some of your favorite cases now? Cases or stories?
See, because I'm a history nerd, I am really fascinated by the ones from like way back in the day. Just because there's so much uncertainty about them in most cases, like because we just can't possibly know because it was so long ago. But then some of them, like you do have the full story, and it's still like, how in the world did they do that? Like the Dutch queen or princess or whatever, who was like, her sexually assaulting and killing all these women and then like wasn't found for so long and was forcing her like servants to do it with her. Like that's just crazy. But then you also have stories like Bloody Mary and like how that story is so synonymous. What? That's not the right word. How that story is so infamous and yet is not true. You know, it's a complete exaggeration. Like she was just like her father and just like Queen Elizabeth I, but because she was older, because she, you know, couldn't have a child, suddenly she's like this terrible human being and all these stories are being told about her. You know, like it's just, those are the ones that are really fascinating to me. Like the ones that are super gruesome and gory and modern, like sometimes I'm like, oh, I don't think I can listen to this much longer. But when there's a lot of history involved, then I'm like super engaged, you know?
Have you watched the one about the Amato case? Bailey Sarian did it, and she did a very good job of it.
I don't remember.
Oh, you have to watch it.
Okay.
I'm going to make you a playlist of all of my favorite true crime YouTube videos and send it to you.
Do it.
So you can watch them.
Yeah, absolutely.
I will try and keep them not gory. Because I was watching a video. I'm not going to say what the case was because people will find it, and I don't want people to have to see what I saw. Was a murder case, and this person straight up just showed the photos of a dead body, and I was like, that was the first time in a while where I was like, I can't believe I'm watching this.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't think, because I don't ever read the comments, and I just was like, oh, this seems like an interesting case, I want to watch it, and I clicked it and I'm watching it, just like doing my thing for the day. Straight up saw a picture of a dead body and I was like, nothing censored. And I was just like, I cannot believe this is something I'm watching, which is like mad disrespectful to me.
Yeah, and also so disrespectful to the person who was dead and that person's family.
Oh yeah. I again, I'm not going to say what the case was, who posted the video or anything, because I don't want people to have to see that. Yeah, that's my thing with true crime. I've been watching, of course, I watch a lot of true crime. I watched Night Stalker.
Yeah, you were telling us about that.
Oh my god.
2 weeks ago? Last week? 3 weeks ago? I don't know.
Probably 3 weeks ago at this point. But everybody had been talking about it. I actually was convinced to watch it by a guy from Hinge. So I watched it. I watched it all in one night. I stayed up until like 2 a.m, just watching Night Stalker.
That sounds right.
Such a good series. It's like a mini series. So it's amazing. And the way, because it's not just like these are all the things he did and these are the victims. It was how they caught him.
Oh yeah, that's always good.
And it focused on the police officers and the life of the officers who caught him. And it didn't focus a lot on, I guess, the killer until the last episode. And in the last episode, that's when they caught him in that episode about a quarter of the way through, and then it was focused on him. But up until then, it mainly focused around the detectives who caught him, which is super cool, and I loved it. 10 out of 10.
Oh, you don't often get that side of the story. What did we talk about the next week? I could just pull this up. I don't know why I keep asking. Was the next week? Oh, the next week was movie musicals. What a jump. What a jump. There's not a whole lot of update on that except In the Heights comes out soon.
I'm actually excited for In the Heights.
It's getting some incredible, wonderful feedback. That's the word I'm looking for.
That's good. I'm super excited. Also, Anthony Ramos.
Well, yes, there's always him as well.
I'll watch anything with him in it. I know he's like getting married.
Yeah. Other updates in that respect, not a whole lot. West Side Story comes out at the end of the year, which I'm excited about.
Yes.
Yeah, movie musicals are doing well. I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased, actually, about all of it. It's very exciting.
You talked about the history of Canadian musical theater for Newark's?
Yes, our friend Patrick, who's actually going to be on the pod in a couple of weeks,
he said yes?
He said yes, yeah.
Hell yeah.
He worked with a company called New Works Productions based out of Niagara Falls, and they're doing like a June takeover of all their actors. And Patrick's is him sitting down with his friends and getting them to explain different parts of theater to him because he doesn't understand it, even though he works in it. It's very funny. And he asked me to just surprise him with a topic. So I just gave him like the history of the different eras of American musical theater. Very, very funny. I had a good time doing that. One thing I do want to say about that sort of about like the history sort of topic is that I've noticed a lot in the last couple of years, specifically like with me. So I am, as you know, if you listen to that episode, very well versed in the history of theater and very well versed in the history of musical theater. It's something that's always interested me, and I've sort of taken up being like an amateur musical theater historian just for myself, which is a lot of fun, and was very helpful for me going through college. The thing is, I have faced over the last number of years many white men telling me that I'm incorrect about what I'm saying. I had somebody fully refuse to listen to me when I started talking about opera's influence on musical theater because opera isn't the start of musical theater. And I said, well, that's not what I said. But because it wasn't how that person would phrase it, I was incorrect, you know? And it's kind of exhausting being like, no, I've spent the majority of my life being, you know, doing this research. I have books upon books upon books about this that I read them all. Like I have seen as many of the documentaries as possible. Like I know what I'm talking about, but because I am a small white girl, how could I possibly know what I'm talking about? And I just want to say that sometimes the young small girls do know what they're talking about. And just because you are an older man who maybe is 6 feet tall, about a foot taller than me, doesn't mean you're always right, you know?
And it's Pride Month, so honestly, if any straight person tells me what to do this month, I'm fucking out. I'm out. I'm really out, not during Pride Month. Also, happy Pride, my fellow LGBTQ plus friends. Yeah. For those who are out, happy Pride. For those who are not out, still happy Pride. You deserve to celebrate Pride even on your own because Pride. You've discovered who you are.
Mm-hmm. And next week we talked about what we were talking about earlier, the abuse and Karen Olivo and stuff. We've kind of covered that. Updates in general, there's been a lot, like Canadian Actors Equity has released a statement recently. Let me see if I can pull it up actually. I don't know if you saw it.
I've actually submitted some stories to Curtain Up.
Did they post them?
Not that I know of yet. It's all anonymous. I read every single one. I like every single one because they deserve to have the boost.
Absolutely.
That is kind of what got me to discover that I don't want to return to school. Mm-hmm. I was just putting stuff in the anonymous submission, just being like, here are things that happened to me during my time in theater school. And then I was like, this isn't good for me. Mm-hmm. This is not healthy for me, and I don't want to return to that. I already have a job in theater. Mm-hmm. I am writing my own works. I'm getting into, I don't know if I could say this part, but just like put a beep over it. I'm getting into beep. I'm getting into stage managing. Like, I'm getting in there. Mm-hmm. So exactly. Why do I need to go to theater school?
Why waste your time, your money, and your mental well-being when you've been able to succeed without it, you know?
I think as long as we keep supporting Curtain Up, everybody on stage. I actually joined a queer writing collective recently. Yeah. So I've been doing that. But as long as we're supporting companies and industries like that, we will continue to stay on the right track to changing how the industry works.
Exactly. And I think at the end of the day, that's the most important part of all of this. We need to make a change in this industry, period. There's no, oh, well, maybe, like it needs to happen.
Oh, yeah. In other news, support the flare. Sorry, I'm an ass.
The next episode we did was you talking about TikTok.
There's a motorcycle. I don't know if you heard it.
I did.
There was a loud motorcycle. How that stuff's going? It's going. I hit 158K last night, so.
Yay! It's so exciting to see you grow.
In all ways but up. I'm not getting any taller. That's going. I've made some really great friends with the Familiar System. Familiar System, I believe you said that you would check out our podcast, so if you listen to this, hi, hello, tell Effie I miss her. Also, I'm getting a shark necklace for Danny because Danny deserves it. But I've made really good friends with them. A funny thing that happened is somebody that I used to go to school with, Rosie, she commented on like a video just being like, hey, this reminds me of you, like added me, and I replied with just, oh my gosh, this is me. And then the person who posted the video was like, oh my god, I can't believe you saw my video. I love your videos so much. You're amazing. And I was like, aww. Like made me cry. So I followed her back and then I messaged her and I was like, your messages made me so happy. Just, you need to know that.
That's so sweet.
That was like a super cool moment. My entire workplace now knows that I have a TikTok following because my boss found out, and then we were jokingly saying how for Pride Month we're going to do a fake runway show, like a TikTok trend, and everybody's going to be wearing a different shirt. And I think I'm going to be wearing blue. And then my boss over the headset goes, make sure if you put this on TikTok, you tag B because B's TikTok famous. And I was like, Ashley! I literally was like, Ashley, why would you do that?
That's so funny. I like Ashley.
I love Ashley. She is my favorite boss I've had in the entire world.
Oh, that's so funny.
10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. We love Ashley. But yeah, that's how that's going. I did a sponsored post, my first sponsorship ever with No BS Skincare.
What a great way to start it. Me
bringing up No BS Skincare in this podcast, I will say, is not sponsored by them. They gave me products for free and I use them. This is not sponsored by them. If they wanted to sponsor a podcast, I would ask for money. But yeah, I did that sponsorship. I have a couple other sponsorships coming up.
Yeah.
I got one last night at like 7:30 p.m. And I was like, how? Because I'd messaged them a few weeks ago just being like, hey, love your brand, love what you make. I'd love to partner with you if you have any things available. And they hadn't responded in like 2 weeks. So I was like, okay, probably won't happen. That's completely fair and okay. And then they just randomly messaged me back and they're like, yeah, we'll do this. And I was like, what? So yeah, that was super cool, fun and funky fresh.
That is fun. I'm so excited for you.
It's wild. It's wild.
So the week after that, we talked about writing. I have a couple of, I don't know if I can talk about one of the updates, but I can talk about some other ones. Mostly just, the big thing is mostly just, we talked about The Good Guys, I believe, which is still being worked on. But I think it's going well. So we'll see. But also, I have finally started revisiting The Love You Make, and I spent all of yesterday, literally all of yesterday, editing the first 3 episodes of season 2 again to make them just flow a little better. And I'm so happy with them. But it's nice to be completely enamored with writing again because I kind of got out of it for a little bit.
I don't know what I've really done with. I joined the writing collective, the queer writing collective, which was super cool and sparked some new ideas. The piece that I've been working on, the short film, I've kind of been working on it. I've had the goal in my bullet journal for the past 3 months is to finish this draft. Have I? No. I've worked on it little bits here and there, but I never get to the point where I'm like satisfied with it. And I mean, Aurora said this a billion times, being a good writer is just being a good editor. And so I just keep going back and editing and editing and editing and editing and editing and editing and just, you know, trying to get it to a place where I'm super proud of it. And thankfully, the writing collective that I was a part of and now joined, it's really helping me with specifically dialogue and how characters speak to each other.
Mm-hmm. I think that's a big pratfall that a lot of writers fall into, like new and old writers, is dialogue. Because we forget sometimes that dialogue, yes, it's about pushing the story forward, but it's also about propelling the characters forward and engaging the audience. So I find, and I'm not saying this about you, I'm just saying this in general, I find that often a lot of writers, and again, not just new writers, will focus more on propelling the story than engaging an audience with these people that we're supposed to be following, you know? So I'm glad that they're talking about dialogue, because that's the one thing that always bugs me about like a film or something. If the dialogue is bad, it can completely turn me off something, even if like it's a good movie, you know?
One of the exercises that we did was write a conversation using only dialogue and only one person's side of the conversation. So only write what one person is saying.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, ooh, because I write scripts for now. Hint at what might be coming, probably in like a year or so. But I write scripts, show don't tell. So often things that I'm trying to portray, I will put in the stage directions
Mm-hmm.
of, you know, the way somebody moves or the way they're like holding themselves, or, you know, person's leaning back in their chair, like smoking a cigarette. You could tell just by their body language that they don't really care about what's going on. They're just like,
mm-hmm.
whatever. So only writing the dialogue but still trying to create a story was difficult. So I kind of just like wrote really, really crappy lines, and I was like, this is bad. And then I had 2 minutes left, and I was like, wait, I can do that. And then I could do that. And it actually got everything moving to the point where the way that even a character would speak could bring along the story. And it was super cool to do that, and it got me into writing a script that I started in December of 2020. I finally went back to that and started writing it again. Because I was like, this is something I can do. This little piece that I wrote, I can change names and then it works for this. So it was super cool, and I'm excited to keep going with it.
When it comes to dialogue, I think, and this is why I want to talk about it next week, I think Mad Men has the best dialogue ever. The way that they are able to portray subtext is incredible. There's, I was watching I've seen, I swear to God, every single video essay on Mad Men. But there's one from a YouTube account called Lessons from the Screenplay. I love their video essays. And they broke down the final episode of season 1, which is a very famous episode called The Wheel. And part of what happens in that episode is one of the, Betty, Don Draper's wife, her friend comes over because she discovered that her husband was cheating. And there's this moment where the wife is like, you know, I came here because I thought you'd know what to do. And Betty goes, well, why do you think I would know what to do? And they just look at each other, and all she says is, I don't know. But we as the audience automatically understand what they're both trying to say to each other. And that is that they both are aware Don is cheating on Betty, but neither of them are going to say it out loud. But you can just, because of how they've structured the dialogue and structured the show and structured and just because of their talent as writers and the talent of these actors, it's just so obvious what they are saying without actually saying it. And it is by far the most beautiful example of dialogue without giving you everything, you know?
That.
And that's one of the reasons why I love Mad Men.
So where can I watch Mad Men?
I believe it's on Netflix, and I believe it's also on Amazon Prime.
Oh, I have both of those. Cool.
Good. I just have it all on DVD as well. So sometimes I'll watch it on DVD, sometimes I'll watch it on Amazon Prime.
Because maybe I'll watch some Mad Men in preparation for next week's podcast.
Yes.
The thing is, I don't like movies, but TV shows I'm better with.
Mad Men kind of feels like a movie at times, and it does move slow at times as well. But once you like really engage with the characters, it goes by and you just are completely enraptured in it. Like I watched like half of season 1 yesterday, and I swear to God, I forgot that there were breaks between the episodes, and it just kept like the story just kept going, and it keeps you so engaged. I love it so much. I was Snapchatting you while I was watching it yesterday, and there was a moment where I was just like mid conversation with B, and I just suddenly looked up, and in sync with Don Draper went, "Mona, your wife's name is Mona," and then looked back at you. So anyway,
that made me laugh. I was like, I don't know what that was, but I'm here for it. I'm here for the vibes. That scene is another really, really good example of just the beauty of dialogue and storytelling in that show. We'll get to that next week.
Next
week, we're getting too deep. We also have a meeting after this.
We do, yes. And then the week after, we talked about Twilight.
I did not watch Twilight. I did watch the Hunger Games series all over again. But last night I did dream that I was Bella Swan marrying Edward Cullen. Don't know how that happened, but that was my dream last night.
I watched the first Twilight movie right after we filmed that, and I have not watched any more of it. Whoops.
Sorry, Abby.
And then last week we did Witch Talk. Witchcraft. Not a whole lot, I don't think, because that was just last week. So I don't think there's a lot that's going on there.
Fun fact, I had to stop using one of my deity candles because if you can tell, the wick is like huge now for some reason, and I don't know why. I'm sure I could probably fix it, and I think maybe that's why the flame got really huge. But because the wick was huge, it blackened all of here. So I'm also going to do a cleansing ritual. I did a cleansing yesterday, but I'm going to do another one with some cedar just to make sure that nothing crazy is happening here. This is Lord Kananos, his candle. I don't know what happened. I genuinely don't know. It was so big.
Yeah, you sent me the Snapchat. That was a massive flame. Like, I was concerned for you for a second.
Which is why I was like, I'm going to put this out and switch to a chime candle for Kananos for right now, because I don't feel like setting my house on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically updates on everything we've been doing.
I guess that's it.
That's the podcast.
That's it. I hope you enjoyed this lazy podcast.
Also kind of upset that nobody sent me happy birthdays, but it's fine. Who is this week's episode sponsored by?
NordVPN. No, I'm kidding.
Absolutely not. We should reach out to them, though.
Well, that's the podcast. Thanks so much for listening, my friends. We'll be back next week to talk about an actual topic. B is currently muted because someone is honking outside their window. Yeah, if you want to leave us a message, ask us a question, tell us the cool things that you are doing and are into right now, you can always go to our Instagram at WeAreTryingPod and send us a voice memo at the link in the bio. Otherwise, we'll talk to you next week about Madison Avenue in the 1960s. Goodbye,
everybody.
Goodbye.